Welcome back in to another episode of Eminem Going Deep. Apologies about no week 8 episode. Had a lot of stuff going on in my life that I had to take care of. Just sort some things out. Another thing is week 7 episode got removed from Spotify and Apple Music or Apple Podcasts because the outro song that I've been using for the last 3 years in order to outro the podcast is now copyrighted. So can't use that anymore. And so now I have to search for a new one. But we're back. It is now week 9 in the NFL season. A lot going on. It's kind of like trade rumor season. Um, a lot of teams jostling for position. A lot of teams on the sinking ship. One Cleveland Browns are one of them. And I don't know. Coaches are probably about to start getting fired. I mean, we already saw one get fired in Tennessee. I think that was the right move by them. I don't think Callahan was ever going to be a great head coach, and I think you got to get the right guy for Cam Ward. So with that, we'll start week 8 review. We're just going to skip week 7. Um, Go hop right into week 8. I'll give you the updated records of picks. Cole and I did not do picks last week. Picks for week 7 counted. Um, but I'll update that as I go. Sorry, no Cole this episode either. Last Thursday, we had Thursday Night Football. Vikings, Chargers, Vikings 10, Chargers 37. Yeah, the Chargers walloped the Vikings. They got Joe Alt back. The offensive line for the Chargers looked a lot better. They were able to run the ball right down the Vikings' throat. 117 yards by Vidal and a touchdown. Herbert and McConkey are starting to get on the same page. McConkey got 6 receptions, 88 yards, and a touchdown. Herbert, 227, 3 touchdowns. Diced up the Vikings defense. A vaunted Brian Flores defense. I think the writing's on the wall, and we'll start to see some pieces falling apart for the Minnesota Vikings as we go here. Obviously, now Carson Wentz is out for the year. He stepped in order to play for J.J. McCarthy. JJ McCarthy's been out with an ankle injury since week 2. It's now 6, 7 weeks later. Is this guy ever going to come back? Is it actually an ankle injury? Is it that he got benched? Is he not good? Vikings got to make some decisions. There's going to be a turning point here in these next couple of weeks because now they're kind of thrusted into playing JJ McCarthy with Carson Wentz being out for the rest of the year. Chargers on the other side get a good win, 5-3. Keeping pace with the Chiefs and the Broncos. AFC West is a tough division right now. They're going to beat up on each other eventually when they start playing one another. Obviously, the Chargers got that week 1 victory over the Chiefs out of the way early, but that was a home game for them, even though they played it in Brazil. So they have to go to Kansas City and Arrowhead at some point later down the road. Let's go back to Sunday. Finally, no fucking London games. But this week, I know we have like a Berlin or fucking Madrid game, which is so fucking dumb, dude. So tired of this. Sunday, Dolphins, Falcons, Dolphins 34, Falcons 10. Kirk Cousins steps in for Michael Penix. Michael Penix is out with an heel injury. Kirk Cousins still out there asking for an opportunity to go to another NFL team in order to get an opportunity to start for them. And he comes into this game and goes against a bad Dolphins defense, and he only puts up 10 points. How the fuck do you think you're going to get another starting opportunity if you can only put up 10 points against probably the worst defense in the NFL right now? Like a week ago, the Browns played them, and the Browns ran for over like 100 yards and 3 touchdowns in them in a monsoon. Like there's no excuses here anymore, Kirk. I think you've fallen off the cliff here. Tua and Jalen Waddle hooked up big time in this one. Waddle had 99 yards and a touchdown, and there was a play in this one where if you go back to the SEC championship when the two of them are back at Alabama, they're going against Georgia. It looked exactly like the same play between Tua and Jalen Waddle, like across the middle, like Jalen Waddle's running from the left side of the field to the right side of the field. Tua hits him in the middle, and Jalen Waddle is off to the races down the right sideline. It looked identical. The two of them back on track together. Tua throws for 4 touchdown passes in this one. The Falcons, who have arguably the best running back in this league, barely use him. in Bijan Robinson, and that's a big problem to me. Like I don't like Raheem Morris as a head football coach. I don't think he's a good one. I know he's been under the McVay tree and the Shanahan trees for a long time. He's part of that route, but I just don't. He is one guy that I do not think is a good head coach. And I think we might see potentially a firing coming out of Atlanta here because they got to get it right. They have a lot of pieces on this offense that it's just not clicking. And now they're starting to get young on defense with all the draft picks they've accumulated and used on the defensive side of the field. And to get 34 pieced by the Dolphins, who coming into this game had one win, just not a good look, man. Dolphins get their second win on the season. Good for them. Next game we have Jets Bengals, probably the only fun game of this NFL Sunday. Honestly, it was terrible. Every game was a blowout. Jets 39, Bengals 38. The Jets scored 23 points in the fourth quarter. They were down 31 to 16 at one point in this game and somehow mount a comeback. Every time they needed a third down stop, they got it in this fourth quarter. They got it, and then they would go down the field and score. Justin Fields, like the stat line shows that he played well. I don't really think he did. I think the nod on the Jets side of the field should be more towards Breece Hall. 18 carries, 133 yards, two touchdowns, and he threw. I don't remember if it was a 2-point conversion or a touchdown, but to Mason Taylor in the back of the end zone. Yeah, it was a bad pass, and he was kind of. It looked like he was kind of just trying to throw it away. But hey, it worked. Jets pull off a miraculous comeback against the Bengals, who had Joe Flacco starting again, was able to put up 38 points for them, but their defense couldn't stop anything. It was like a faucet that is broken, and you just can't shut the water off. Their defense just couldn't come up with a stop when they really needed to. They had a fourth and one opportunity, just wasn't there to be had. Jets took it to them. They ran the ball down their throat, exploited some holes on their defense, and able to able to come out with a win. Good for the Jets. 1-7 on the year. Aaron Glenn's first win as a head coach. Bengals. The good, the bad, and the ugly. You just lost to the Jets. Sure. The good of that. The AFC North is wide open. The Pittsburgh Steelers are bad. The Browns are bad. The Ravens are bad. Anybody in this division could really win it. I really think any team this year could win it. Obviously, the Ravens are probably going to get Lamar back this week, and it's probably going to be a different story for them. But they are in a deep hole right now. It's possible with Joe Flacco that you could just, buy your time until Joe Burrow comes back. But you really needed a victory in a game like this against a bad Jets team in order to kind of put yourself in that position. This one might come back to haunt the Bengals. Next game, we have Browns at Patriots. Browns 13, Patriots 32. Drake May goes off in this game. Throws for three touchdown passes, 282 yards. Travion Henderson also kind of had a breakout game here, 75 yards on 10 carries. Patriots just shut the Browns' run game down, and I won't even say they really shut it down. They didn't even try to run. Kevin Stefanski did not even try to run the ball, and that's what just drives me nuts with this head coach. And I've said it, you can go back in this podcast, and I said it before this podcast existed. He just sometimes he just doesn't try to do the simple things, like running the ball. Yes, I know the Patriots hadn't given up a 50-yard rusher yet this season, but that is our bread and butter as the Cleveland Browns. Use your stack sets, use your tight ends, use your big boys, and just power it down their throat. Like just go body on body and see who's going to outmuscle them. If they outmuscle you, then you start going into this bag of tricks that you pulled out in this one. You know, backwards passes, flea flicker screens. Oh my God. And it just looks bad for the Browns. It looks so bad. And a lot of it stems from the fact that they're starting a quarterback that I'm taller than. And he's got a noodle arm. I might have a better arm than Dylan Gabriel. And I think I need Tommy John surgery. It's unbelievable that they think this guy could be a NFL starter. He is god awful. He is nothing what you think he is as like assessors for football. He sucks. He fucking sucks. I cannot stand it. And I cannot stand the fact that they're going to stick by him. The Browns have a bye week coming up. I don't know what they're going to do. They said a lot of things are on the table, but I really think it's just time to give Shadur a shot. I haven't been the biggest Shadur fan. Like I think he brings a lot of publicity to the Browns, and the Browns are in a really bad spot right now, just being a bad football team, and having that national publicity just kind of hurts them. Like all over the national media right now is like Myles Garrett shouldn't have signed that contract. That's a bad contract for the Browns. Myles Garrett is the best player the Browns have had in 25 years. Like literally, he's the best player we have had since the franchise has come back to Cleveland. Saying that in my head is just absurd. You don't just trade away somebody like that. Doesn't matter if you're going to get picks. Like he is a game-changing game wrecker. In this particular game, he had 5 sacks. Yes, he showed frustration on the sideline, but that's also because he has a desire to win. That is a leader right there. I said a few weeks ago, I feel like the Browns don't have a leader, but that right there showed me that he has the potential to lead this team. He has the want and drive to push them into a direction that is positive. I don't think that management and the coaching staff are the right pieces right now. I still don't know if firing Kevin Stefanski is the right thing to do. There's a couple reasons why I think that, but if there's a play caller, offensive play caller in Green Bay, and I know that Matt LaFleur calls a play, and I wish my co-host was here because I just want somebody that has that offensive mind of the Shanahan or LaFleur or McVay prowess. Like you see it in Minnesota, the types of things that Kevin O'Connell is able to develop. You saw it in Miami for those first couple of years with Mike McDaniel. I know the wheels have fallen off there, but that style of play and that those play designs, they still exist somewhere with Mike McDaniel, and you saw it this week with them winning 34-10 against Atlanta, a better football team. I want something like that. And honestly, there's one coach that I kind of think that would be a great hire for the Cleveland Browns, and I don't think a lot of people are going to agree with me on this one. He once was a head coach before. He's won Super Bowls before. He coaches defense though. And I think what the Browns should do is just bring in a brand new defensive mind that gets people in position to make plays. And it doesn't matter their level of talent. He gets the best out of every single player he puts on his field. And that is Steve Spagnuolo of the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that guy deserves a second opportunity as a head coach in the NFL. It's been many a years since he actually was a head coach in the NFL. If no one remembers, he was the defensive coordinator for those New York Giant football teams back when they beat the Patriots the first time in the undefeated season. He was the defensive coordinator then. I'm pretty certain he wasn't the defensive coordinator when the Giants beat them the second time. I think he was actually still a head coach there during that time, and then I think he got fired after that. And then he goes to the Chiefs, and he's now with Andy Reid, and he sees like a different style of this game. I think if you bring Steve Spagnuolo to Cleveland, you get two things. You get a massive, massive upgrade as a defensive play caller and a defensive mind. And that defense that the Browns currently have is ready to take the next step and be an elite defense, kind of like the 2000 Ravens that we saw. I won't say 86 Bears or anything like that. Maybe even the early 2000 Steelers defenses that you saw. I think you bring in a guy like that. You get that. That's one thing you get. The second thing you get out of having Steve Spagnuolo as a defensive coordinator or as a head coach is you get just a bona fide leader. I think he would inspire the defense to play a lot better. I'm not saying you bring him in as a coordinator. I think I've messed up my verbiage there. I want him as a head coach. And then you bring in a offensive minded head coach like you see in Washington right now with Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury. Kingsbury had his opportunity to be a head coach at one point in time. He failed, left the NFL for a little while, take a little break, and now he's back. He's doing a pretty good job in Washington. He did a much better job last year than this year. Obviously, Jaden Daniels is getting a little bit banged up. That's a difference than last year. But he still has that offense moving and grooving at times. I think that the Browns should move away. If they move away from Stefanski, they need a guy like that. And I really think that bringing in a defensive mind and firing Jim Schwartz would shake up things entirely. And two, I think that you'd light a fucking fire under the defense. And it wouldn't matter who we're playing. I think that he would just get the best out of these players in order for them to play up to a certain caliber. And I think we could lean on our defense and we could lean on the run game. And that's what the Browns are designed to do. I think if you do that, a guy like Shadur could potentially be very successful in an offense. Lean on the run game, go to play action pass, things like that. Maybe Shadur's not the guy. Maybe there's a guy at Alabama. His name's Ty Simpson. Maybe there's a guy at South Carolina. His name's Lenora Sellers. Maybe there's a guy at Indiana. His name's Francisco Mendoza. Like, I don't know. Patriots played well though, and Mike Vrabel has taken that team to new heights. Um, Yeah, there was a very stone's throw chance that the Browns could do something in this game, but when like the talk of this going into this game was Dylan Gabriel hadn't turned the ball over, and then he turned the ball over left and right in this game, and it became a blowout really fast. The fact that we have 13 points isn't isn't right. That game should have ended 32-7. But I digress. On to the next game, we got Giants at Eagles. Eagles 38, Giants 20. A lot of weird stuff going on in Philadelphia. AJ Brown isn't happy still, even though he went for like 120 yards and two touchdowns in week 7 against the Vikings. This week, he just sits out and he's injured, has a hamstring injury. So the bulk of the load in the receiver core goes to Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. Everybody kind of thought like that's where they were going to go. I really thought that how this game played out was how is actually how it went is they were going to lean on Saquon Barkley, and Barkley went off for 14 carries, 150 yards and a touchdown. He broke, I think the second play from scrimmage was like a 75-yard touchdown by him. Still an animal. He ends up hurting his groin in this one. Leaves. I believe they did state that if he needed to come back, he could have played, but since the Eagles are heading into their bye week, they weren't going to risk it. Eagles are getting something going right now, and if they can open up the run game like they kind of did right before this bye week, and they just kind of lean on it in the bye week, really fine tune it, they could be back to the level of team that they were a year ago. On the flip side of this, Giants. They were in this game for a while. There was a really controversial call. I think the score at that time was 7-7 or 7-0. Eagles go for a tush push. Jalen Hurts extends the ball for more yardage. Ball comes out. Kayvon Thibodeau comes up with it, and the refs say they blew the whistle dead. And yeah, it was a really bad officiated thing. Then there's another thing late in the game where Darius Slayton's being held by Quinyon Mitchell. He breaks away, catches a touchdown pass, and they call offensive pass interference. Another wild call that went against the Giants in this one. Another thing that went against the Giants is Cam Skadaboo now done for the year. If anybody saw that clip of his foot literally pointing outward and then him asking an offensive lineman to pick him up so he could walk off to the sideline, absolutely insanity. I don't know how someone thought he or how he thought he was going to walk off, but I think the Giants got something in Jackson Dart, and it's really a shame that he's now lost probably his two most reliable weapons in Malik Neighbors and now Cam Skadaboo. Obviously, you still have Tyrone Tracy, but it's going to be a lot more difficult because the relationship Dart and Skadaboo were building, it really looked like something that was going to blossom there. Eagles get back on the right track. Uh, After dropping that game to the Giants 2 weeks ago, they kicked their ass in Philadelphia. They're undefeated in those Kelly Greens. Next game, we got Bills at Panthers. Bills 40, Panthers 9. What have I said this whole year? If the Bills lean on James Cook and they allow and they give him a good amount of carries and they feature him in the offense, the Bills offense runs through James Cook. James Cook is an elite running back. He probably is a top 5 running back in this league. They leaned on him in this game. He went for 216 yards and two touchdowns. He probably could have had a lot more. I don't even think he played at all in the fourth quarter. He had over 100 yards in the first half. He was just hitting the holes so hard that the Bills offensive line created for him, and he was taking off with a purpose. Like he just put his foot on the gas and like went away. No one on the Panthers defense was going to catch him. And the Bills literally just kept running those toss plays to the outside, left, right, and he was just seeing the hole, taking it and going. There was an extended period where it was like 14, 13, 17, 20, 65-yard touchdown. Like it literally was just that. Panthers, they looked really bad without Bryce Young. There was a little period of time where it looked like they were going to hang around in this game, but then Andy Dalton just started turning the ball over left and right for them. Really bad over there too. Bills get back on the right foot after their bye week. Absolutely demolish an inferior opponent. Next game, we got Bears at Ravens. Ravens 30, Bears 16. If you look at this box score of this game, it looks like Lamar Jackson was playing. He did not. It was Tyler Snoop Huntley for the Ravens. They gave the ball to Derrick Henry 21 times. He ran for 71 yards and two touchdowns. And I don't know. This game was fucking ugly, man. Snoop Huntley did enough, but I think the bigger thing that should be coming out of this story is Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is not good, like at all. I don't think he's fit to be an NFL level quarterback. I don't think he processes the plays fast enough in his head, and he's reading defenses fast enough in order to make progressions, in order to work one side of the field to the other. I don't think he's good enough. Right now, if you watch Caleb Williams play, he will have a very clean pocket, and the Bears offensive line has a good protection around him. He'll get antsy in the pocket, and instead of stepping up and like just moving forward towards the line of scrimmage, step up in the pocket, make a nice throw. He always spins around and then just starts running around 10, 15, 30 yards back from the line of scrimmage. And then he tries to throw these fucking pipe bombs to these receivers and it just hits them in the hands and they can't catch it. Because it's like a hard catch. They're like leaning over the sideline and it's the ball's coming at them at 75 miles an hour. It doesn't look right. I think they need to really lean on the relationship he's built with Roma Dunze and just get him comfortable in the pocket. Like I don't know what drill you would do, but he needs to stop evading in the pocket by spinning out. He needs to move up in the pocket. And if he gets this antsy feeling in him, just take off and run. He has the athleticism. The worst thing he does is that he just runs backwards, and the Bears are constantly losing yards. In college, you can get away with that. There's levels of talent to this thing. Everyone in the NFL is at a certain level of talent. These are the best of the best, the 0.001%. Can't do that. On to the next one. We got 49ers at Texans. Texans 26, 49ers 15. 49ers have been skating away with Mac Jones as quarterback, but after this game, I think it's over. Like Brock, they rested Brock Purdy enough. They now fall to 5-3. It's time to get Brock Purdy back. George Kittle's back. Christian McCaffrey's still doing his thing. In this game particularly, the Texans defense really smothered the 49ers rushing attack and forced them and basically said, Mac Jones needs to beat us in order for you guys to beat us, and he could not. He was not cutting it in this one. CJ Stroud and the Texans offense for a couple of weeks in a row now have looked a lot better, a lot more in sync. I think they're starting to put some pieces of the puzzle together. I would The one thing that I would say is that the 49ers defense is pretty weak without Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, and they have a couple of other guys injured. That's the one thing I would caution everybody to think about when it comes to the CJ Stroud and the Texans. And they did not face an elite pass rush in this game. If they go against a team like the Broncos in the AFC, I think it's going to look a lot different. It's going to might see this old CJ Stroud that we were kind of getting accustomed to, that he was not looking good. Next game, we got the 4 o'clock games, dude. Every game in this Sunday was a blowout. Buccaneers 23, Saints 3. Buccaneers 23. You would think Baker Mayfield had a good game in this one. Nope, 152 yards, no touchdowns. That's 2 weeks in a row that I've watched Baker and he just doesn't look right. He could be dealing with an injury. I've read reports about him dealing with a knee, maybe a bicep injury. He's just like floating the ball over his wide receivers, and like I don't want to say it. You know what? I'll say it. I'll say it. I'll say it. I'll say it on the podcast for the 9 people that listen. The Baker I saw these last 2 weeks against the Lions and Saints reminds me a lot of the Baker I saw in 2021 on the Cleveland Browns. Just these last 2 weeks, not the whole experience we've had so far. Um, he did that a lot with the Browns in 2021, where he would airmail these passes and he would go over receiver's head and get picked off, or he would just overthrow them, or like he, he just doesn't look right now. The Buccaneers are really banged up. They haven't had Bucky Irving for 4 weeks. Mike Evans has been in and out of the lineup. Chris Godwin's not been in the lineup. The offensive line's been shuffling around, but there was a level to Baker that I was starting to get accustomed to seeing, and it didn't matter who his wide receivers were, and he was able to execute. We haven't seen that really in the last 2 weeks. It's been rough. The Buccaneers now get a bye, and they need it bad. They need it bad. Their defense bailed them out in this one with I think 4 turnovers. Flip side of the coin, Saints, they pulled Spencer Rattler in this one. It's now Tyler Shuck's job. Let's see what Tyler Shuck's got. Next game, Cowboys at Broncos. Cowboys 24, Broncos 44. Bo Nix and that offense finally let loose on a bad defense. Cowboys defense is one of the most decimated sides of the ball in football with injuries right now, and it shows. Like there's miscommunications all over the field. No one knows who they're covering. It's a bad thing to watch. And the Broncos took full advantage of that. J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey had their way running against this team. And the Cowboys, like their offense was really keeping them in games this season. They went against a really good defense in the Broncos, and they were able to stifle them. And basically it was just Dak, CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens were not able to put up enough points in order to stay in this game. Broncos pulled away 14 points in the first, 14 points in the second, 3 points in the third, 14 points in the fourth. Yeah, ain't gonna cut it, man. Next game we got Titans at Colts. Colts 38, Titans 14. Jonathan Taylor, man, what a guy. 153 yards, 2 touchdowns, another touchdown receiving. Basically put the team on his back. Daniel Jones had a great game. He threw for 3 touchdowns. Michael Pittman, 95 yards and a touchdown. Daniel Jones, it's what I'm talking about. Is the Colts are able to run the ball efficiently and effectively with Jonathan Taylor. He is an elite running back. He's one of those top 5 running backs in the league. He is able to make big chunk plays. And when teams come up and try to stop him, it opens up the passing game for Daniel Jones, and he's able to pick apart defenses. He threw for 21 completions out of 29 attempts. That's insane. Especially for Daniel Jones, the guy for the last like 6 years, we were like, who is this guy? Is he good? Is he got not good? Because we saw ups and we saw downs of the Giants. A lot of downs though. But now you see him in an offense where the run is opening up holes for him. He's able to pick apart defenses. The thing that is going to be interesting is whenever team goes into a game against the Colts and it's like Jonathan Taylor is not going to beat us, and they figure out how to shut him down, and they make Daniel Jones have to do it. If a team can do that, that's how you beat the Colts team. Just saying. Um, Sunday Night Football, Packers, Steelers, Packers 35, Steelers 25. That score is a little bit too close. I should have been 35-19. Packers just let them score at the end. I don't know why. Tucker Kraft and Jordan Love went off in this game. Tucker Kraft, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was just barreling through Steelers defenders. No one wanted to tackle him or cover him. I think Jordan Love threw 18 straight completions in this one. That was the most locked in I've ever seen Jordan Love play. The In the beginning of this game, the Steelers were up 16 to 7 going in the half. It looked like it was all Steelers because the Packers had missed two field goals at the end of that half. But the Packers came out in the second half and just pushed a drive right down the Steelers' throat and really just went after some holes on their defense. Now the Steelers are trading for players. They traded for Kyle Duggar from New England, a safety, in order to try and shore up this defense. But I said it a while ago. I think Juan Thornhill is one of the worst safeties in the league, and Steelers fans were so happy to get him after the Browns cut him. He's terrible. Jabril Peppers, he's been in the league a while. I loved him when he was a Cleveland Brown, but he had flaws as a player as well. They lost to Sean Elliott in this game. I think he's done for the season. I don't think Kyle Duggar is going to be the answer to all the problems you're seeing on defense. The defense is old. It is old. TJ Watt hasn't like had a sack in like 14 games. I'm exaggerating, but you're starting to see these holes of aging players, and they're the most paid defense in the league, and they're just not playing up to the to what they're being paid. They are old. Monday Night Football, Commanders at Chiefs, Commanders 7, Chiefs 28. This was an ugly game in the first half. Commanders would drive down the field, interception. Chiefs would drive down the field, interception. Commanders would drive down the field, interception. It was back and forth doing that. Both teams scored in the first half, but at the end of the first half, you kind of started to see that the Chiefs were starting to get back in their normal rhythm. And you saw it in the second half. Their defense really put the clamps on Marcus Mariota and the Washington Commanders offense. I think Terry McLaurin's now hurt again. That's bad for the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels, I'm not sure if he's going to be back this week. Still dealing with all these injuries. Chiefs, they just keep on grinding, man. All right, let's head into second down. Let's go into week 9. Let me take a sip of water here. All right, Thursday night football. Ravens at Dolphins. Ravens are 7.5 point favorites on the road going into Miami. Lamar Jackson is back, folks. Um, Update on standings for straight up picks. I am 67, 32 and 1. Cole is 72, 27 and 1. Uh, for this game, I'm taking the Ravens with Lamar back after I saw what they did to the Bears last week, who I think the Bears are a much better team than the Dolphins. And I don't I think the game we saw out of the Dolphins last week could be an outlier. And we've seen this also roller coaster ride with the Atlanta Falcons, so I don't really know what the Atlanta Falcons are this year. We saw them play really well on Monday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills and beat them. Then the next week after, we saw them on Sunday Night Football and they played the 49ers and they looked terrible. The week after that, they played the Dolphins and they got their ass kicked. I don't know what the Falcons are, which leads me to believe I don't think the Dolphins are have figured everything out. They literally got 30-piece by the Browns the week before. Um, yeah, I'm taking the Ravens. On to the next game. We got Bears at Bengals. Bears are 2.5 point favorites going on the road into Cincinnati, going against Joe Flacco and Jamar Chase. After talking all that shit about Caleb Williams, I'm not really sure how I'm feeling about this line. I think the Bears can win it outright. I think that Bengals defense is bad. The thing that I you want to look at in this game is the Bears now have two decent running backs. DeAndre Swift has now emerged as a really good running back for them, and this Monangai guy, he's really gotten involved in the last couple weeks. I think the Bears lean on the run in this one in order to achieve the victory, and their defense comes up with some key turnovers against Joe Flacco. That's how they do it. Next game, we got a rivalry match. We got Vikings at Lions. Lions are 8.5 point favorites. I'm taking the Lions, obviously, to win straight up. I think it's JJ McCarthy that's going to start for the Vikings. I feed them to the Wolves. Vikings offensive line has been bad this year. If the Lions are firing on all cylinders, that defensive line of Lee McNeil and Aiden Hutchinson, who just got paid, by the way, today, are gonna feast. Next game, we got Panthers at Packers. I feel like we watch this game every year. Packers are 13.5 point favorites. I'm taking the Packers outright. I pretty certain that Bryce Young is not going to play for the Panthers. Think he's going to be out for a little while. Um, Packers, I think, could start get rolling here, and rattle off like 5, 6 wins in a row in order to really put cement themselves as the leader in the NFC North because they do have the Lions right on their heels, even though the Lions are sitting at 5-2. Being 5-1-1 is gonna fuck things up for those Packers. Next game we got Chargers at Titans. Chargers are 9.5 point favorites going into Tennessee. That's oh, careful with that one. You got an LA team going east. I'm taking the Chargers outright. I think the Titans are really bad. We're really starting to see the pool like extend itself where the good teams like just leap above the bad teams and they just break apart. Um, I think Titans are really bad. I think they're missing a lot of, they don't have a lot of pieces on that roster in order to compete. They're in a rebuilding phase. They have a good quarterback. I wouldn't say good. They have a rookie quarterback. I'm taking the Chargers. Next game, we got Falcons at Patriots. Patriots are 5.5 point favorites at home. I believe it's going to still be Kirk Cousins. I don't know. The Patriots look really good, and I think that we'll really be able to determine what the Falcons are after this game. If they keep it close, I don't know, man. I don't really know what the Patriots are either. Obviously, like their best win this year is beating the Bills in Buffalo. But the Bills made a lot of mistakes in that game. They weren't gelled yet. I think that the Bills look a lot more gelled after their bye week and kind of know their identity now because they were really flirting with this whole no not giving the ball to James Cook thing, and I think they just really got to lean into it. Patriots. I'm taking the Patriots outright. All right, 49ers at Giants. Ooh, an old rivalry here. 49ers go into MetLife. They're 2.5 point favorites on the road. I don't know if it's Brock Purdy or if it's Mac Jones. I'm still going to take the 49ers. Ooh, that defense, though. Jackson Dart's got no weapons. 49ers. All right, Colts at Steelers. Colts are 3.5 point favorites going into Pittsburgh. All right. So last week, I think that everybody thought it was a get right game for the Steelers. They had an opponent coming into Pittsburgh after blowing that game on Thursday night to the Bengals. They had an opponent coming into Pittsburgh, and they were an underdog at home. I think this is the game, them at home as an underdog, the Steelers are going to win outright. Give me the Steelers to beat the Colts. Um, Remember that thing I was just saying? A team is going to shut Jonathan Taylor down. Maybe not like shut him down completely, but maybe he only gets 80 yards and a touchdown. That's kind of shut down for what we've seen him this year. The motherfucker's got 12 touchdowns this year. Um, yeah, I could see this being the game that the Steelers win. Underdog at home, Mike Tomlin. That's bread and butter him. Broncos, Texans. What did I just say? What did I just say? What did I just say? If the Texans play a team with a good pass rush, watch out. Like, pay attention. Broncos defense was on pace to set the record for most sacks in a season. I don't know if that pace has continued over the last 2 weeks, but this is exactly what I was talking about. I'm taking the Broncos to beat the Texans, even though the Texans are 1.5 point favorites at home. Next game, we got Jaguars at Raiders. Jaguars are only 2.5 point favorites going to Las Vegas. Whew. I'm taking the Jags, but that line scares me for some reason. Like, what do you know that I don't know? Saints at Rams. Rams are 14.5 point favorites. Just give me the Rams. Just give me the Rams. I don't want to talk about this game like at all. I think Tyler Shuck is in for a whirlwind. All right, the best 425 game is Chiefs at Bills. Chiefs are 2.5 point favorites going into Orchard Park. That's interesting to me. 2.5 point favorites. Like the reason that's interesting to me is because yes, we have seen the Chiefs really starting to turn the corner, and they're really starting to round into form and look like the team that we know and a Super Bowl contender. But the Bills just kind of came off a bye. Like they played the Panthers last week, but the week before that they were on bye. They are at home. Obviously, they play up every time they play the Chiefs. Give me the Bills. Every Bills fan is gonna cry if they don't win. All right, next game we got Sunday Night Football, Seahawks at Commanders. Seahawks are 3.5 point favorites going into Landover, Maryland. Um, Seahawks were on bye last week. Um, Give me the Seahawks. I don't think Jaden Daniels is playing. Monday Night Football, we have a gross game. Gross, gross game. Cardinals at Cowboys. I do not care. Just give me the Cowboys. Cowboys are 2.5 point favorites. Fuck it. Dak, just throw for 130,000 yards and two touchdowns or something. I don't know. Um, let's go into third down. That's lock and upsets of the week. I am 6-1 on locks and then 2-5 on upsets. Lock of the week, I will just take the Rams to beat the Saints. And then my upset of the week, I'm taking the Broncos to beat the Texans. 100%. Fourth down, we got best and sneakiest matchups. Sneaky matchup, I'm going to start with Broncos Texans. This is a sneaky matchup. I want to know what these two teams are going to do to each other. Texans have a very good defense. I've been under on this ship of I don't know really how great Bo Nix is. Everybody blew him up over the offseason about how great he was and yada yada yada, but he really stumbled out of the gate this year. And the Broncos weren't really putting up points like I think people expected. They lost that game against the Colts, like that they shouldn't have lost, or fumbled it away. Texans, I they've played some inferior opponents lately in order to get those three wins. And you could say that the 49ers aren't an inferior opponent to them, but with that amount of injuries, they kind of are. So that's a sneaky matchup to me. Best matchup, I obviously like Chiefs Bills is a fantastic matchup. Love it to death. Um, I think that's the best. That's the best matchup. Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen. Let's get another story to the book. Add another chapter to the book. Bye week teams: Browns, Jets, Eagles, Bucks. Ugh. Um. All right. That leads me into pick six. Give me my pick six right now. All right. I talked a lot of shit about that. I talked a lot of shit about that. Give me the Patriots to cover 5.5. So Pats minus 5.5. Um, Steelers plus 3.5 at home. Broncos plus 1.5 on the road against the Texans. Dude, I want to take this Jaguars line because it seems like a layup of minus 2.5. All right, give me the Bills plus 2.5 against the Chiefs. I feel like they might get their shit rocked now that I'm saying it. All right, that gives me four. Cowboys are only minus 2.5 against the Cardinals. Give me minus 2.5 Cowboys. And then I need one more. Oh no. And it's one of these like, I don't know, games. Bears are gonna lean on that run game in order to beat the Bengals. Minus 2.5 Bears. Just lean on the fucking run, Ben Johnson. Like, just lean on that fucking run game. All right, college football. Um, it was like 2 weeks ago, I think that we saw a lot of upsets. Like Miami lost. Like everybody lost one week, and then last week I don't think we saw that many upsets. But we started to get some coach firings. Well, actually, a lot of coach firings. Like Brian Kelly's now out at LSU after getting waxed by Texas A&M in Baton Rouge. Um, yeah, coaching firing carousels going. Good matchups this week for college football. I'll say Penn State at Ohio State at noon. That's a pretty good game. I don't really know what Penn State is or how they will play with now firing James Cook 3 weeks ago or James Franklin. Um, I would expect Ohio State to wax them. They're 20.5 point favorites. Vanderbilt is now going on the road to Texas. Number 9 versus number 20. Vanderbilt could cement themselves as one of the best teams in the country if they go into Texas and beat them. Texas is 2.5 point favorites. That is interesting. I think that's a great matchup. Upset alert. U Miami going to SMU. SMU's had an up and down season. Miami's 12.5 point favorites going on the road, but ah, just be careful. Uh, Rivalry time in the 3:30 window. We got Georgia at Florida. Georgia's still the number 5 team in the country. Florida's obviously unranked, but that's a huge rivalry between two SEC teams. Texas Tech fell off a couple weeks ago against Arizona State. They're going on the road against Kansas State. They're now Kansas State's bad, but they're starting to basically just be like, all right, let's fucking ruin somebody else's season since ours is ruined. In the 7 o'clock window, not really. All right, I'll highlight two or three. Three games I'd keep my eye on. One, South Carolina at Ole Miss. Ole Miss, number 17 in the country. South Carolina's really pissed away their season. They had opportunity after opportunity in order to really have a good season behind what should have been a really like a Heisman contender in Lenora Sellers and a great player in Nick Harbor. I wouldn't put Ole Miss on upset alert, but that wouldn't surprise me. Next game, I would say Georgia Tech at NC State. NC State has had an up and down season, but they've lost every game. Uh, every loss they have this year has been by under a touchdown, something like that. It's been less than double digits or whatever. Yeah, they've been in close games. NC State's a solid team. Georgia Tech hasn't really played anybody, and they've kind of been playing with fire. If nobody remembers, they barely escaped against Wake Forest, and they barely escaped against somebody else too recently. Can't remember. Best game of the 7:30 window is Oklahoma at Tennessee. We got Brent Venables going against Josh Heupel. Number 18 versus number 14. This is an elimination game, folks. This is an elimination game for the 12-team playoff. Whoever loses this game, their season's done. They're not going to the 12-team playoff. That is a big thing. Oklahoma's defense has now played some good offenses recently. They played a good offense last week against Ole Miss, and they really weren't able to keep up with them. So what really is Oklahoma's defense, and how good is Tennessee's offense? That will be answered on Saturday. With that being said, it is October 29th. We are about to be in Thanksgiving season. I hope everybody is having a great fall. Remember to set your clocks backward on Saturday. That's November 1st. Ew. And I hope you enjoy the new outro song. Everybody have a good weekend.
Artlist.io